and da 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 da. Okay, and that should do it, and we'll see how this works. I'm just checking everything, system checks.
I
All
think we're going
right,
live.
let's go
I'm wondering.
live, boys, and I'm just making sure everything shows up here. All right, so I think at this
Who wants
point
to
we
open
should
this? Who
be
wants to open
ready
this
to
thing?
go. So I think with that, we'll go ahead and kick this thing off. So with that being said, let's talk wrestling and sports entertainment. The good, the bad, the ugly, the noticeable, the unnoticeable,
We're
whatever
live
you
right
prefer.
now, PD.
Let's go ahead and do this.
Ladies and gentlemen, we live. Welcome to the Sauce Pro Wrestling Show. I am the Hoss of the Sauce, Pete Moss. This is the originator, Noah G, and the simple man, Noah Foster. Although, I kind of feel like we need to start calling him the sharp-dressed man. So, obviously, we've had a pretty good week in the world of professional wrestling. The Cleaner, the new AEW World Champion, Kenny Omega, made his presence felt on Impact Wrestling. It was pretty great. And we finally found out that despite what we had heard, it will not be a one-off as a favor to Don Callis.
No.
So, why don't we just jump right into it? But before we do, I've got to say a massive thank you to my friends over at SRS Cards for having me this past week. It was an absolute blast going on their podcast, The Caravan. Drake, Cam, and Cam were an absolute blast. You know, we talked about this show, we talked about their show, we talked about pro wrestling, we talked about pro wrestling cards, we talked about my shitty fantasy football team. So definitely check those guys out. Give SRS Cards a follow, and I'll leave their handles in the comment section. You guys will definitely like what you see. But I just want to thank those guys because it was an absolute blast.
Hell yeah.
Nice.
Hell yeah, dude. It's awesome. Glad you got the opportunity to go on there and plug the show, man. That's a job well done on your job well done on the Hoss. Job well done on the Hoss.
You do what you got to do.
Yes. But hell of a point you just made. We did have one hell of a week in pro wrestling. I think we pretty much. So this past Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken, this was week number 1 of Kenny Omega showing up on Impact, or was this week number 2? I think I'm getting.
This was week number 1.
This is the start of it.
I just saw something recently where there was an interaction between him, Kenny Omega, Don Callis, and Carl Anderson. Now that wasn't main Impact. That was something else entirely. If I'm not mistaken. Or was that the same night?
You saw about Don Callis and Kenny Omega showing up. Literally.
On the bus.
Yeah,
They were on the
they
bus,
showed up
I
on the
think,
bus
Carl
Tuesday
Anderson.
night, and they showed up, yes, the Saturday at Final Resolution.
That's what it was. I saw highlights of that yesterday. But anywho, no, it was an interesting week. Noah, Simple Man, I think I'll leave it up to you to because we're kind of going to go through things in chronological order here. Started off, I personally think it's really hard to speak highly of this show. But Monday Night Raw, that's the first show of the week.
Mm-hmm.
What stuck out to you this Monday on Raw?
I keep looking at the developing friendship and then the so-called teasing of them betraying one another, and I wonder per se exactly when are they going to set up Sheamus versus Drew McIntyre? I feel like that's the match to come at the Royal Rumble, although I could be absolutely wrong. And then I think about what's going on with the women's division. Lana getting this massive push, it seems, with Asuka. And I think about Asuka and Lana becoming the tag team champions would give Shayna Baszler a new dynamic. But can you have Asuka carrying 2 belts is the question. What are they doing with the rest of the division? It seems like Retribution, you thought that the book may get better. It really isn't. And you wonder if Slapjack and Reckoning are on thin ice with the fact that they lost to the impromptu duo of Dana Brooke and Ricochet. But overall, the best thing on Raw, let me in. It's definitely the entire dynamic going on with Orton, Bray Wyatt, The Fiend, and Alexa Bliss. And Orton taking on Bray Rogers in the main event definitely stuck out to me the most. The fact the match didn't end in normal circumstances. Lights went out, Fiend came out, choked out Randy. So who's more in control right now? Is it Orton or is it The Fiend? And those are just a few of my highlights from Monday Night Raw. Pete, any thoughts?
I gotta 1000% agree with you. If Sheamus and McIntyre isn't happening at TLC, you gotta believe it's happening at the Royal Rumble. It doesn't seem like they would be doing this if they weren't doing it for a reason. Especially when he's literally saying he's going to turn on Drew. Which I don't necessarily agree with that. I was just like, I don't know why they're trying to what they're trying to prove when doing that. But I don't know what could happen. You still got the underlying threat of the Miz with his Money in the Bank contract.
Yeah.
The fact that I don't know what they're going to do with that honestly makes me more intrigued. I haven't been this intrigued when it came to a Money in the Bank contract, and as far as not knowing when they're going to cash in a very long time, and I've missed that sort of feeling when it comes to Money in the Bank.
Well, I think Noah kind of hit it on the head a little while back when he mentioned the Money in the Bank briefcase. It hasn't really been relevant since Seth Rollins has held it.
There's some truth to that.
Yeah, there definitely is.
It's definitely gone down in its relevancy, and especially when people have lost their matches that they cash in on. And now Drew McIntyre is treating it like a frisbee anytime he steals it from the Miz. Chucking it halfway across the stage to the entrance ramp. And then we had the reports of several superstars from Monday Night Raw not being, Vince not being happy with their performance and sending it back to the PC, which, in reference to Keith Lee.
If I may, I'd like to
thrown on Keith Lee for that. Go ahead.
If I may, it's possible that Vince saw the match, the number one contenders match, which I personally thought was, the first match that I felt we saw in the NXT version of both Keith Lee and Matt Riddle. Maybe that's what Vince saw, is this is not the version of you we wanted to see. We always feel like Vince doesn't want the fullest versions of this talent. It's very close. It might be considered a closed-minded way of looking at it, but this is kind of that. This is the kind of the Vince McMahon mentality that we're getting out of. But there's also one thing that Shane Helms brought out of this, which from a certain angle you can't really disagree with him. But we were talking about this before Simple Man joined us, and I'd like to read this tweet if you don't mind. Give me one moment. All right. He said, and I quote, "Players that make it to the NBA, NFL, NHL, etc. don't stop practicing and drilling just because they made it to the quote-unquote top. Being signed to a major promotion doesn't mean stop trying to perfect your craft. That's when you work even harder to perfect your craft." I don't disagree with that in the slightest. The only issue that I have is that it seems like they're, trying, to only give this sort of criticism to certain talents, but not to others. So my thing is either you give this sort of treatment to all the talent or none of them at all, because you have to be willing to tell all the talent, hey, you need to always be wanting to get better, because every single wrestler on that roster, just like every wrestler on every other roster, regardless of how good they are, is going to have flaws that they're going to need to work on.
Right, exactly. CM Punk made a really good comment during an interview post his WWE days. He said AHL hockey players have to work or play with NHL hockey players in order to get better. But the thing is I think a lot of the fans are upset because, Keith Lee was so over in NXT, and then he goes to the main roster and he's just
and I think they also felt like this was him leaving the main roster. I don't think that's what this is. I think, from what I've been told, it's him going 2 days a week. I think he's still going to be on Raw, which is good. I think they look at it as them insulting him and saying, oh, he's not getting better. I don't think that's what this is. I don't agree necessarily that he needs to get better or anything, but I do agree with what Shane Helms is saying. As this, like, once you get here, like, this is like you got to look at it as a goal, but not necessarily as a ceiling. And what that means is you have to still keep trying to get better. And I think Keith Lee knows that. I feel like Keith Lee is a mature, like, it's like when I look at the way he looked at the music and pretty much everything else, I feel like Keith Lee would look at it as an opportunity to grow and everything like that. But yeah, it's just one of those things where you gotta kind of take it on the chin.
Yeah.
Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3.
Wait, he's still here. He's just not showing his face.
Well, I'm trying to adjust this because again we're in the early stages, folks, of figuring out this stuff. And at first there was an echo effect going on. I figured it had something to do with the mic, so hopefully this will eliminate that problem. But I agree with both of y'all's points as well. I mean, CM Punk tirade, of course, NXT with the fact they were using Pat McAfee, who seemed to be coming out with better booking as a bigger star than most of the actual NXT talent. Better promo too. And honestly, he's not wrong, but also Pat McAfee, he backs up all that too. You can't argue with Pat McAfee's running NXT, but I digress. And the fact that they say that Keith Lee is an unsafe worker and basically they send him back to training at the Performance Center, I mean, I feel it's more so Bobby Lashley's fault. Bobby Lashley trying to pull off the strongman spot, it seems, and just couldn't do it. You would figure that an experienced guy like Bobby Lashley would know better and know his limits too.
Right.
Agreed. And I think, like, I was just telling Simple Man, like, I was just telling Noah G this. I think a lot of people heard it as, oh, they're going back to the PC and they're not going to be on TV anymore, and they like they don't want them on there. No, not at all. That's not what this is. And I like Keith Lee, like, probably is smart enough to know, like, this is just an opportunity for me at least to try to get better, and I think he's good to be willing to take it on the chin. But it's just like we were just saying, they have to be willing to put this sort of accountability on everybody, and it doesn't always seem like they're willing to do that. That's all it is.
Yeah. But we'll have to wait and see. And as far as Bliss, how Bliss plays in this whole thing with Orton and The Fiend, is Cross going to show up at TLC? And is this thing still going? Like, what is Cross doing at this point? Last I checked, I think she had a match on a main event. You got to wonder, is Cross going to join the Firefly Funhouse, or is Cross going to come out better on the other side of this when we look at the way the roster is being used, of course, on Monday Night Raw?
I wouldn't be opposed if she, ended up being changed by Bliss the same way everybody else is changed by The Fiend. I feel like that would, it's almost like a transmission, so to speak. I wouldn't be opposed to that if, like, they, sort of did that. I feel like it would do really good things for Nikki Cross's character.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. But honestly, and I agree with Noah what he said earlier. The Bray Wyatt and Alexa Bliss and Randy Orton. How Randy goes from having a really short WWE title reign and a rivalry with Drew McIntyre to this, to me, that's kind of like kind of like Randy's like, okay, I'm gonna go from this main event position back down to like this mid card or just like this storyline stuff, which is cool, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But I will sing Alexa Bray. I said Alexa Bray.
I thought you were gonna say Brett.
Alexa Bliss's praises all day. I mean, props to her for her character, like her.
Alexa, stop.
Well, because
we may have to like work on that. We may have to just call her Bliss from now on.
I'm gonna have to freaking disable my Echo Dot because of you.
Yep.
Anyway, continue.
Shout out to her for her exploration of her character and going, looking into new avenues for the character of Alexa Bliss, because up to this point, she's done it all. She's been like the women's champion, major heel, like getting so much heat. Then she kind of pulls a babyface turn, and then she's a tag champion with Nikki Cross, and now she's doing something completely different from everything she's done before. So it's what's creating more of a name for herself, and then what it'll be like to see her either as a tag champion again with Nikki Cross when Nikki Cross becomes crazy again, or continuing this character into a women's championship run. That is what I'm most interested for, because her with a championship at the same time Bray Wyatt is WWE champion, oh hell yeah, I'd be down to see that 100%.
It'd be a dynamic contrast, to say the least. But again, only time will tell. But those are only the main things I could figure about. I mean, as we look towards TLC, we got an impromptu match. I'm sure it's going to be set up for the kickoff show. The New Day are taking on the Hurt Business for the tag team titles. Nobody for the United States Championship. Shocker. We got Drew McIntyre versus AJ Styles for the WWE Championship, and I'm sure that Bodyguard will come into play, despite the fact he says and does nothing. And then, of course, the main highlight of Raw for me is more so what's going to go down with Orton and The Fiend. And I can't think, honestly, of anything else to really figure about or discuss heading into the go-home for TLC. Unless you all got any other idea what other matches might be booked, I'd love to hear them.
Nah, we're good.
We're
good.
I mean, if Jeff Hardy can keep himself alive, like, if I'm not mistaken, he actually competed in a match against Bobby Lashley this past week. And, you know, if, like, I don't remember the results of the match, but, like, he's the only person that would make sense to me to contend against Bobby Lashley for the U.S. title if they wanted to do so. But, yeah, like, it doesn't seem like they really are, like, trying that hard to find, you know. I feel like I feel like they're trying way harder to protect the U.S. title and not really do anything with it than the Intercontinental title. I at least believe that they want to, like, have Sami Zayn defend that with the U.S. title. It just seems like I feel like it's Brock Lesnar level. With the way.
Yeah, I feel like the U.S. title has really lost its purpose as what it's supposed to be.
Bobby Lashley's there, so I can't almost. Yeah. But he might as well not be.
It's one thing to look strong with a title. It's another thing to be wearing a giant, shiny belt buckle, which is all the United States titles become at this point. And then Matt Riddle selling bro nuts and Garza talking to a mysterious person.
He's a walking Dare commercial.
Can we, so Angel Garza's promo where he's, like, sending roses to someone, I saw something very interesting. So after he cuts this promo, literally an hour later, a certain someone who used to work with WWE a while back posts a photo on her Instagram with a bunch of roses. This one person being someone who is not highly regarded as a great performer, but somebody who is widely talked about or highly talked about as one of the most controversial people to never fight in a match, and is constantly shit upon because of how much I'm just going to go right out and say it. Eva Marie.
What?
Posted a photo with, like, a bunch of roses on her Instagram. Like an hour after Angel Garza did that promo.
I was hoping you would say Melina. Eva Marie?
Oh. Yep. No, not Melina. I would actually want Melina to actually get back to the ring because she's one of the greatest female performers in WWE history.
Mm-hmm.
We don't. As far as I know, you know, it'll be a cat fight between Carmella and Eva Marie if she decides to come back. God help us.
Well, I mean, Eva Marie wants to fight Bayley and vice versa. So, you know, perspective is 2020. But as far as Monday Night Raw goes, I got nothing else to say about it. I'm ready to move on to the next show unless anyone else has any closing thoughts.
Let's move on to Impact Wrestling, a show that has skyrocketed in views recently, and that is thanks to what Pete was mentioning earlier with Kenny Omega and Don Callis.
Yes.
Who we cover? I mean, here's the thing, boys. In regards to the actual matches and the shows and everything that's going on, all focus has been on Kenny Omega and Don Callis. Other than that, the only thing I wanted to mention is we have the Knockout Women's Champion Deonna Purrazzo doing the thing that Shio, you know, doing her thing, which is awesome. I don't know. I didn't get the play-by-play on this one, and I think is it also a good time to mention the elephant in the room. Our Impact Wrestling coordinator, Jack Attack, is
on assignment.
Is out on personal leave. This is due to on a personal leave. We'll just stick it with. We'll just keep it off.
Respect, but I can cover it because again, I watch all things wrestling. Shout out to AEW family on Twitter. So, Impact Wrestling, there was some interesting developments as we look at this real personal rivalry, it seems, with one Cody Deaner and Eric Young. Cody Deaner got destroyed shortly, though, but Rhino came out and confronted with a lead pipe, thus preventing the dual pile driver. We had the Knockouts Tag Team tournament continuing as Rosemary and Taya Valkyrie took on Kimberly and Deanna Purrazzo in a really good match. There was some great chemistry here, as Deanna still very weary of dealing with anything abnormal, if you could call it that, as her and Deanna, or excuse me, as Rosemary and Deanna had a mix-up. Kimberly and Taya had a really nice one-on-one. I thought that was a nice spot where they both did the split at the same time. They still were finding each other in the split. In the end, Rosemary got the win after planning Kimberly face first. So Deanna and Kimberly were eliminated, but Deanna goes to confront Scott feeling disrespected. Rosemary versus Deanna Purrazzo was made for Final Resolution, which of course was just last night. I thought that was an awesome show too. More building towards Chris Bay and Rich Swann with a great main event tag match, though more so was about Moose's pain as he destroyed Willie Mack to the point they almost got DQ'd. Rich Swann couldn't take it, and Chris Bay came in and took up the pieces. Tommy Dreamer threatened to arrest Larry D. And the other key points here at the North are basically breaking down mentally, I feel, at this point, especially one freaking Ethan Page. Sami Callihan continues to issue his violence against the Edwards, and Alicia set up a trap. Eddie Edwards is back. And an impromptu mixed tag match was made with Caleb, with a K, and Tennille versus the Edwards. And again, you have to say with a K, it seems, or you feel he's disrespected. I think that's weird. There's still fight over money. I think this is ridiculous at this point, okay? And then again, I don't deal with women that seem like somebody out of Jersey Shore, so that's just my opinion on that. And of course, we had the best parts of the night, in my opinion, that definitely stood out, which was definitely the reason why ratings were driven, but also the wrestling industry and fans are so excited. Tony Khan and Tony Schiavone made a paid advertisement appearance discussing what was coming on AEW Dynamite, but also teased buying Impact Wrestling, talking about their tag division and their champions, which of course led to our big-time interview, and I swear, Josh Matthews was Michael Cole this night, saying AEW World Champion, Kenny Omega, All Elite Wrestling, over and over and over and over again, to the point I was like, are you Michael Cole 2.0? Shut the hell up. But and eventually it came back to bite him in the ass, as he did finally go out to get a sit-down interview with Kenny Omega and Don Callis, who said this was 27 years in the making. Why some people, they leave memories and make moments. We create history. As Don Callis' Kenny Omega setup looks like more so a father-son type thing, the same way Don Callis viewed how Kenny Omega's uncle, the Golden Sheik, was to him. And as Kenny Omega compared the AEW World title and other titles to a form of collection as precious as comic books, it seems like Kenny Omega is going on all out, no pun intended, pursuit for championship gold across all promotions. And I feel his next pursuit is the Impact World Championship, as subtly teased, where Rich Swann was unable to go out a door because he wasn't on a list, thus feeling disrespected. But the real burn of the night was literally when Don Callis just tirade Josh Matthews, said, go back to Stanford, kid. And they also brought up Dean Ambrose and Tough Enough Season 1. So the moments of the show for me were the Final Resolution build towards title matches, and definitely Kenny Omega teasing what's next for the cleaner, what can you expect from him, and where does Impact Wrestling and AEW go from here?
Right. Exactly. Also, something I heard as well about Impact is that Madison Rayne is stepping off of commentary. I don't know if there's any truth behind that report. I don't know why. But I just heard that recently, and honestly, I could see it's interesting that I'm watching that interview, the clip of her standing next to, just not saying anything, and I'm like, oh my god, have I missed her actually shining in her role in Impact as like a commentator? Or not, I don't know if she's just been like an interviewer or a commentator, but
she's been a commentator. They already got an interviewer, and she basically gives some subtle points to women's matches, more so who's been in the wing with, while more so putting herself over, and then her and Josh get into a bit of bickering with each other. So honestly, still the weakest aspect of Impact Wrestling.
Team ever.
Thank you. It's the weakest commentary team in professional wrestling. Matt Striker, Josh Matthews was better.
The point is, if we had any doubts that Impact was making its way up and was kind of flatlining a little bit, this move by Kenny Omega and Don Callis has definitely resurrected the momentum and shifted gears for that momentum. We're ready to move on to the Wednesday Night War, gentlemen.
Well, I'll just say this. Tony Khan in a passive-aggressive state representing the Jacksonville Jaguars,
Yep.
and the two Tonys just standing next to each other. Talking about how Tony Schiavone quit the business for 18 years after one night in Impact. There was just so much hilarious banter in that paid advertisement. I hope they do it again this week.
Same. That was so funny. I loved that advertisement. It was so good. It was funny.
Pete, anything to add regarding Impact Wrestling?
No, man. I thought it was a good show. You know, it makes me wonder if they're going to start changing some things about Impact now that, you know, Tony Khan's, you know, a little bit more involved, maybe a little bit more subtly, not entirely, because obviously Impact's done a lot of things right. But like I've brought it up before, like what if this excited ring comes back? And a lot of it's, you know, circumstantial things, like
Of course.
do, you know, just little things like what it's just one of those things where we have to wait and see what exactly does this mean.
Well, Scott D'Amore is just going along with it for the ride. I mean, hey, it's more viewership for Impact Wrestling, which apparently was, I think, their best viewership in a long time. They're actually trending on Twitter. And Tommy Dreamer, of course, showing concern because he's seen this before. So it does leave a lot to chance and a lot to think about. Are we getting Invasion? Are we getting Alliance? Are we getting friendly competition? Who knows? And
as long as Impact can't have any sort of in-house audience, the at-home audience is, you know, the bigger they can make that, can grow that, the better.
Exactly. As they've been just out of Skyway Studios in Nashville. That's been Impact's home.
Yeah. And the more partnerships among all the other companies outside of WWE, the better. So I mean,
it's like the territory days basically reforming at this point. You got all these companies coming together to just bring a lot of fun and opportunity to everybody in wrestling, in and out of it.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm looking forward to where it goes.
We get to profit as the fans.
Daggone right.
Exactly.
Now, Wednesday Night War.
So, NXT, allow me to start off, gentlemen. We have this show starting off with Finn Balor making bold proclamations, returning as NXT champion. We don't see him return back to action. Why? Most likely because he's still recovering from the jaw breakage, the breakage of the jaw.
Exactly.
But who comes out? We have Pete Dunne, Kyle O'Reilly, and Damian Priest. Thank God, because Pete Dunne for sure deserves this, because it's avoiding us from our worst fears, which is, I'm thankful it was him and not Pat McAfee.
So am I.
Kyle O'Reilly, well deserved, because if anybody besides Adam Cole, baby, is going to be the NXT champion, it's going to be Kyle O'Reilly, because the man got himself over. And then Damian Priest also got himself over. His time with the North American Championship is done. I'm going to get into that whole confusion later. But you know, he comes out and they have this three-way interaction, okay, which was funny. It was comedic gold. The interaction between these three. Kylo O'Reilly demonstrating that he can imitate a British accent, which was very, very funny.
And pretty much on point, too.
Then we have, you know, Finn Balor at the top of the stage, and whose music plays but Karrion frickin' Kross's. And you have Scarlett Bordeaux, Lady Scarlett. I shouldn't say Scarlett Bordeaux. I should say Scarlett Bordeaux. Damn.
All right, pull yourself together there.
I nearly had.
You knew that was going to happen, Pete. You knew that was going to happen.
I nearly had an epileptic fit when she walked off dressed to like the Undertaker's version of the Statue of Liberty.
Didn't you at one point call her the Dragon Lady?
Yep.
An angel of death ascends once again on NXT.
But okay, so I like
great.
that whole interaction because Finn Balor's like, I'm confident, I'm Finn frickin' Balor, and I've traveled all over the world, and I'm like the best performer in NXT, and I'm the champion, so I can take.
And your husband's finisher is a suplex.
Right. So he basically called the bluff. He basically said, I know what you're gonna say, TikTok. Well, tell your boy that I'm ready when he is. And then what happens is she doesn't even get a word in. And Damian Priest is in the ring. He's like, so you just come out here and handle your man's business while he's waiting in the car? Well, tell him to face me like that and face me like a man. And then later on that night, Johnny Gargano is running his mouth in the ring with Candice LeRae, Indy Hartwell, and the returning Austin Theory. And Damian Priest.
I called that, by the way.
Austin Theory being the one under the mask. Yeah, I know you did. You did.
We all saw that since the match with Johnny Gargano.
It's me, Austin.
I like to play on words with the higher power promo. That was brilliant.
With
Anyway,
Vince McMahon back in the day.
but of course you're talking about this because we did have, of course, this was the NXT episode Fallout of War Games, which I know you'll highlight.
Which, yes. Now, I like that immediately what is trying to be accomplished with this episode of NXT is they're immediately going into who's getting involved with who is, what rivalries are beginning now, what's the story now that War Games is over, the fallout. People aren't here because they're injured, they're recovering. Okay, we get that, because they did this whole segment where they're interviewing individual people, we killed each other, we beat each other's asses, it's an ass whooping. And then there were people that were showing up, people that weren't. Okay, I like it. But immediately they go into who's involved with who. Clearly, Finn Balor has his work cut out for him because he has 4 people gunning for his championship. And now whoever, wins between Karrion Kross and Damian Priest is going to be the number 1 contender. Whoever wins between Pete Dunne and Kyle O'Reilly is going to be gunning for the championship as well. So it's like they have immediately gone into who's fighting who, and I love that. But something, and I want to talk about this because this was the main thing of confusion. For me, Damian Priest comes out in the very first segment of the show and looks at Finn Balor and he's like, "You want this match between me and you? Not only I want this match, but you want it." And then later on that night, Johnny Gargano, the North American champion's running his mouth, and then Damian Priest interrupts him. Why? It didn't make any sense. And then you see Karrion Kross blindside and attack Damian Priest as he's walking down to the ring. Okay, so you just came out so Damian Priest can attack you, basically. But logically, it doesn't make sense if I'm Damian Priest. I'm gunning for the NXT Championship. Why am I wasting my time with Johnny Gargano? That really didn't make any sense to me. I don't know what your guys' thoughts on that were.
Before you talk about the rest of NXT, I thought it was a little weird that he just gets frustrated from the North American picture after losing to the top picture, but I do understand he has history with Finn Balor. And then the fact that he's still feuding with Gargano, you almost wonder if he's trying to become double champ, as Gargano, of course, introduced us to The Way with Indy Hartwell and Austin Theory, as The Way seems to be the way to go in NXT. Their way or the highway.
On the fire, simple man.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens with The Way.
He really hates heels.
The Garganos, good grief. The most annoying act it seems in NXT, and now they have a faction called The Way. So either go their way or stay out of their way. I feel The Way or just way is going to be the most reoccurring word going forward in NXT to everybody's chagrin. At the trophy thing.
Okay.
That's it. He's going to blow up. Let's get it on. Here we go.
Let me take y'all to church for a minute. Okay. It says in the good book. It says in the good book, wide is the gate, and broad is the way that leads to destruction, and many who will be there find it. And by many, I mean Johnny Gargano.
He went southern on us.
Candice LeRae, Indy Hartwell, and Austin Theory. They are heading towards the road of destruction, my good gentlemen. But narrow is the way, and straight is the way that leads to life, and few who will be there find it. And those few are not the 4 Gargano family members, okay? And I know that because words ring true. Cheaters never prosper.
At the end, a cheater gets the just desserts.
And let me explain my theory on this. Candice LeRae is going to get the ever living crap beaten out of her by Shotzi Blackheart and the Tank, and it's going to be a big tank. Or she could trade in the Tank for a motorcycle, because I know our girl can ride motorcycle. Okay. Point is, Shotzi's gonna get an upgrade here soon, and she's gonna beat Candice's ass.
Well, that won't be for a while since Candice LeRae literally put her limb in for the win, as she does have a broken arm.
Right.
As you'll talk about with the Brutality Warriors. But anyway, not to get you mad about the way, but that was the focus of the segment. Let's talk about what happened Damian Priest's way, though. As Karrion Kross, I did not see that return coming this soon. Beat the crap out of the guy, and then left in a Charger.
That was another thing, if I may. That return was, I think they should have given that another week. Or they should, and it also didn't make sense considering how Karrion Kross won the NXT Championship.
That's right.
He's doing a lot of video promos with just his eyes on Keith Lee. He's doing all these, mystic stuff. And then he shows up at the pay-per-view and wins. This did not make I get it, because, you got your Punk card got pulled by Damian Priest. And don't get me wrong, Damian Priest, I love all this shit he talked Wednesday night.
Right.
Because the man's got the talk, he's got the look, he's got the swagger, he's got the in-ring ability, he's a worker. I love Damian Priest.
We also got 3 NXTs till the NXT Championship match Finn Balor discussed on a special version of NXT. So, I mean, you gotta do what you gotta do. We don't even know how Regal is going to define the number 1 contenders match. Is he gonna do, like you said, 2 singles matches and then the 2 phase off? Is he gonna do a 4-way? Is he gonna do something else between? Is Damian Priest gonna be written off? We don't know.
We don't know. But I agree. But I think we all could, Noah, I think I agree with you. I was not expecting the return either. And it was too early.
But Damian Priest going after the Garganos, despite what they're saying about their way, that was just confusing to me, because you're focusing on the NXT title. What do you want? Do you want the North American title at the expense of Johnny's hatred of wheels? Or do you want the NXT Championship at the fact that you face Finn Balor and literally put your back into it? Might I remind you of In Your House? Yeesh.
Honestly, that was, if I were to redo that segment, I would have kept Damian Priest out of that entirely. I would, because he gave Candice a trophy with a small troll doll that imitated Shotzi Blackheart. I would have Shotzi interrupt and try and attack the girls in the ring at that time.
Yeah, and then Austin Theory and Johnny Gargano pull them apart.
That would have been a better segment. But anywho, let's see, what else do I got here? Tommaso Ciampa and Thatcher. It's a continued rivalry, and I love it. Tommaso Ciampa is, kind of doing his best to get Thatcher established as a legitimate heel and a legitimate badass, and I like that a lot. And then the resolution of the evening was, you have Raquel Gonzalez going one-on-one with Ember Moon.
That was great.
Who interrupts this match but Toni Storm, about to basically smash Ember's head into the ground, and then you hear Rhea Ripley's theme song. And Raquel basically does the whole, he grabs Toni by the shoulder, pushes her aside, and he's like, nah, it's faced off between me and Rhea, and the show ends that way. Because
on her
it's
time.
Unfinished business. This is a conversation I'd like to have with the three of you, and what kind of match you'd like to see, because Rhea has gone on record and said that she'd love to work with Raquel again, and in a type of stipulation match. Personally, I could see, hopefully they don't do something crazy like a submission match or anything dumb like that. Maybe like an Iron Woman match I could see happening here, like something long where they have to, pin each other multiple times, and whoever has the most pins wins. Maybe some sort of hardcore match or a street fight of some sort.
Last man standing. Last woman standing.
Something like that. It could be anything. Personally, hopefully that's what happens, and it's not just a regular match like they had last time.
Pete, give us your thoughts on all things NXT.
To answer your question, if it's a stipulation, either last woman standing or steel cage.
Steel cage sounds awesome. By the way, the brutality of War Games and Raquel's sudden push after squashing Io Shirai for that ladder and winning for Team LeRae, bloody incredible.
we've seen what Rhea Ripley can do in a steel cage, whether it be War Games, whether it be her match with Mercedes Martinez. Rhea Ripley can go in a cage. We don't know about Raquel Gonzalez, but something tells me she would be able to hold her own, especially with somebody who as experienced as Rhea Ripley.
And again, she won War Games. She won War Games for her team.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So I think the stars align there.
So what else is on your mind, Pete, regarding everything NXT? Now we talk about Raquel.
Okay. So you weren't here last week when we Simple Man when we got into this.
Because I was on No DQ business. Support No DQ, folks.
The battle over the heel disagreement will seemingly never end. So, when it comes to Johnny Gargano, Johnny Gargano is honestly might just be the best performer in NXT history.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care if
NXT history. That's a bold claim.
He is Mr. Takeover. Wins or losses, he probably has always made a spot and a match to remember at Takeover.
He is definitely on my NXT Mount Rushmore.
Same.
At least for the men.
Continue.
I got Seth Rollins, Adam Cole, Johnny Gargano, and I honestly can't remember who the third one was, but it was definitely those three. You'd have to give me a minute while I remember. I actually had it written down somewhere.
Well, you can go back to that, but continue your thoughts.
But no, it's just like, dude, the cowardly heel. It just gets so unappreciated. It's so underappreciated sometimes. I don't know what it is, man.
I think it just comes down to the way it's booked. I mean, think about how many times the Authority protected Seth Rollins, and Seth Rollins bobbed and weaved, used corporate Kane, used JNA security, and people got, fed up with that very shortly. It seems like, though, this Johnny Gargano way
here's the thing.
Just is taking a new leash.
I felt the same way growing up. Like, when I was growing up when I watched JBL, like, I literally wanted to beat the ever-loving shit out of him.
The cabinet, I remember that era, yes.
I wanted, and that was his job. It was like, if I wasn't feeling that way, if everyone else wasn't feeling that way, he was not doing his job. Let me give you a great example. You guys remember when Kevin Owens won the Universal Championship?
Yes.
Yep.
Specifically the next week when he had that epic celebration, the confetti, the pyro, the balloons, everything. He was the heel, right?
Yep.
So, and everyone was so unbelievably stoked, despite the fact that he was a heel, because this was a guy that finally got his moment. But when since he was a heel, he had to be like, oh crap, these guys are loving me right now. I have to fix that. So he went, and in his promo he said something along the lines, I think it was like, what I really need more than anything else is for these inbred hicks to stop hijacking my moment.
Yep.
Because he was like, and there's going to be that small group of people who are impressionable enough to let that get to him and be like, fuck you, KO. And immediately turn on him like that. Because he's like, these guys can't like me. I'm the bad guy.
Now, KO's one of the best character workers in WWE.
Regardless of how the times change in the eyes of the fans, there will always be a babyface and there will always be a heel, and it'll always be their eyes. Like, because that's the thing that was always a double-sided coin. Like, we think about the Cena and the Roman Reigns thing where they were good guys, but always like booed by the crowd. There was always another side to that coin that we never saw.
Right.
Or at least saw less.
Well, especially with John Cena, because John Cena always stood to his guns, and then Roman Reigns came back this year and flipped the script on what it means to be a heel and make it personal.
Yeah.
Okay, so enough about Johnny Gargano and the way in NXT. You talked about Raquel Gonzalez. So we talked about the heel dynamic with Ciampa and freaking Thatcher.
Timothy Thatcher. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank you. So Pete, your thoughts on the NXT title picture? How should they handle it?
With the people they have now, I'd give it to Damian Priest.
Really?
Attaboy.
It would be full circle on a rivalry. I think Damian Priest can carry the ball, and I think that'd be if it's not going to be Karrion Kross, I think it would make sense for it to be Damian Priest.
I think the fans, but I think here's the thing. I think the fans are clamoring for, they are clamoring for obviously Karrion Kross to get his NXT Championship rematch because he lost it. So
At the very least, the rematch, if nothing else.
personally, I think it was too quick for Keith Lee to be removed from NXT and to take the
Agree.
championship off of him. And put it on to Karrion Kross so quickly, but it's unfortunate that Kross got injured. But now that Finn Balor,
I feel like that's happened a lot with like babyface champions in NXT.
That has
when
been a
Sam-
stigma.
When Sami Zayn won the NXT title, immediately dropped it. When
Kevin
DIY
Owens.
won the tag titles, immediately dropped them.
Yep.
When Johnny Gargano won the NXT title, even though this one I'm not as mad about, immediately dropped it to Adam Cole.
At
but it just
Fallen
seems-
Takeover.
Yeah, like it seems like it's a pattern with
It
NXT.
feels
It's
like an
one of the-
NXT. It feels like an NXT.
Yeah.
If you're a face, you don't really have a strong title run, but you're still always over with the fans. But
You'll
when you're an
always remember.
aggressive, badass heel or badass character, it does seem to be bigger and better things for you. Look at the landscape of NXT. You wonder what they're going to do with Boa and Xia Li at that concept, because right now
Like-
they're going for something that looks like torture, but also Shaolin Monk training. I don't know what the hell that's
like-
going.
The only one I can think of that had like a title reign as good as the payout with the title reign that came with it, that immediately comes to mind is Bailey. Outside of that, like, you know, their title reigns kind of ended really quickly. The ones that I could come up with.
Yeah, you got a point there.
Recent memory.
Yeah.
Yeah, at least this is an NXT that I could come up with.
Right, because again, following Bailey's loss to Asuka held that title for 500 days.
Yeah.
When we get into SmackDown, Pete, there's a couple of things I just want to comment on
Oh,
that I
jeez.
found hilarious.
I know you do.
Yep,
Of-
but
of course, you guys have-
anywho, no, personally, I enjoyed NXT this week. I'm thankful that they are elevating Damian Priest into a new atmosphere.
Yeah.
Now, what they
Agreed.
do with Johnny Gargano in the North American Championship, that's to be determined.
The way.
Also,
The way will
Also-
determine it.
and going back to the Tommaso Ciampa Timothy Thatcher thing, those two didn't have a match this Wednesday. It was a match between Tommaso Ciampa and Cameron Grimes.
Cameron Grimes went straight to the mat as Ciampa
Right.
planted his head with Willow's bell.
Exactly.
I have something I gotta say, like, no disrespect to Tommaso Ciampa whatsoever, but much like the Finn Balor match, I honestly would have given that match at TakeOver to Thatcher.
Well, again, this feud's just starting,
Yeah.
and like I proposed in my predictions video with no DQ, I could see their feud ending in a fight pit. Let's see if Ciampa can beat
I
Thatcher
would give it-
literally at his own game.
I
Because
would
this
love
feud's
that.
not over, clearly.
So, out of curiosity, because there was a while where it seemed like, you know, NXT was kind of going on a bit of a downward spiral. Do you guys think it's kind of going on a bit more on the rise?
I think so.
Yeah, you got a new
Personally.
challenger for Io Shirai, but you also got different dynamics in the women's division for grudges with Toni Storm and Ember Moon. You got this Battle of the Titans still going on with Raquel Gonzalez and Rhea Ripley. Raquel
Oh,
right
yeah.
now being the push the most in the women's division, by the way. Absolutely deserves it. You're wondering this dynamic and who's going to come in to guide Xia Li and Boa when their training is done. That keeps me wondering. The Cruiserweight division keeps being a staple part of NXT, and it looks like another Cruiserweight's about to turn heel in Isaiah First Scott following his defeat.
They need to hurry up and do something with the Jordan Devlin situation.
Yeah, well, I'm just gonna say this right now. Worlds collide, unification match. If it's possible, I want to see him and Devlin, one champion, winner takes all. Don't even have to be ladder, just do the two in a traditional match. I bet you can steal the show, sell the dispute, because I get what you're saying. As Jordan Devlin is now defending his title every week in Open Challenge. That started just this past week. And then one more thing regarding.
I gotta think Santos will drop it first, so that way it's
Yeah.
a baby face and heel. But
Well, I mean, right now you got two heels as NXT Cruiserweight champions, so it has to be settled one way or another. And as far as the
Yeah.
other thing with NXT, mid-card division, hey, Kushida might get involved towards the North American title since he's tagging with Leon Ruff. So, yeah, I feel like NXT is in a better state. They're developing stuff across the board, and thanks to help with NXT UK tag teams, finally feels like we have a tag team division with Everrise as a buffer.
Oh yeah. And let me tell you something. Everrise, like
They're
programs
growing
and
on
stuff,
me.
They are growing on me, and I find them
Slowly.
incredibly entertaining.
They're growing on me.
Slowly.
The segment that they had backstage with Kevin Owens was great. It's like, you losers need a ride. That was great. That was great.
I would still have them switch days of the week.
Mm.
Not Tuesdays though.
Thursdays, keep saying it. NXT could own Thursdays because I watch NXT UK every week, and honestly, after the AEW Dynamite we had this week, you wonder that's seriously being considered. Despite the fact NXT, part of the global organization, they're building another brand. Get ready, folks. We're getting NXT India.
Oh my God.
That's a thing.
That is apparently a thing in progress.
Wow. So, okay, before we if we want to talk about that, we can. But I just had an epiphany, and I don't know if there's not going to be any weight to this, but I can see this possibly happening.
Go for it.
So with the future NXT pay-per-view, where everything that we're seeing right now would come to fruition, everything that they're building up to would pay off. This NXT takeover, likely, or pay-per-view, whatever, will be after the main roster tables, ladders, and chairs pay-per-view. Am I correct?
You are correct. We are done with takeovers for the year.
And
New Year's Eve. After that NXT takeover, we have the main event pay-per-view of the Royal Rumble. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. So here's what I see happening with Rhea Ripley and Raquel Gonzalez. These two are going to absolutely obliterate each other.
Yes.
They could rip each other to pieces, and I personally could see Raquel going over. I could see Raquel going over in this match for one reason only. The reason is Rhea Ripley is going to be taken from NXT to the main roster in the form of the Royal Rumble match.
I already called that.
And she not only gets entered into the Royal Rumble match,
She wins it.
but she wins the Royal Rumble match.
I've heard y'all.
Yep.
I've heard y'all talk about it.
And I don't know, it could be a match with Asuka if she's still Raw Women's Champion at that time. If they decide to build Shayna Baszler and remove her from Nia Jax in the next few months, and they have a they have a Shayna Baszler Asuka match at the Royal Rumble for the Raw Women's Championship, and Shayna wins, we have Shayna versus Rhea 2.0 at WrestleMania for the Raw Women's Championship. Ooh.
That'd be
My
interesting
God.
if Shayna
That
gets
would-
the
that would
title
be
off
good.
Asuka. I like that a lot. But again,
That would be good.
yeah.
That would be good. But
But
quite
that's
frankly,
That's only if Shayna and Nia lose the tag champs to somebody not credible, like I don't know who.
There's
that would
nobody,
be-
so just take it whatever. Like I said, it looks like they're literally doing Lana and Asuka
Reunite
potentially
the
take them on.
Iconics. Fuck it.
that would be good. Except me personally, I don't need to see Rhea win the title off of Shayna simply because I've already seen that happen.
That you want
I'll
a
tell you
big
what-
time moment. You
I'll
want
tell you
something
what
different.
I'll tell you what I need to see happen simply because I was robbed of this moment last year, as was everybody else. I need to see her win that championship off of Charlotte.
Yep. That'd be the ultimate put over.
Think about it.
Are there,
But
any signs of-
Pete,
are there any signs
Pete.
of Charlotte returning anytime soon?
I don't know, but
don't know,
I-
but you know
I-
she's coming
if-
back.
if
She's
she
back for
is-
Raw.
If she is, I would be okay with her winning the championship if it means Rhea Ripley is winning the Royal Rumble to come in and take it from her.
Well, Vince was the one that denied us of Rhea Ripley beating Charlotte because he was against that idea.
That's
so.
my point. That is my point.
How do you push that idea to Vince to actually make it happen this go around? That's the question. How do you change Vince's mind?
I don't know if I'm allowed to legally pitch my idea for that on the air.
On how you convince Vince McMahon of anything.
I'm out of options.
Triple H, force it.
We
Pedigree him. Oh, sorry, too dark. Anyway,
no.
I was thinking darker.
He hasn't been the same since Randy Orton punted him in the head back in 2008.
that's a good point. I really wonder if his brain cells got scrambled during
But
that.
you get my point. Like I feel
Yeah.
like it's just this could correct the mistake of having Rhea Ripley drop the title.
Absolutely
And
agree.
make it better and make it a part of this big long story.
Mm-hmm.
Make it a good integral part of it.
You want to talk about stories? I think there's too many stories to freaking track when it comes to AEW. Woofa, what a show. Nearly a million views. Congratulations to Dynamite. Been a while since you nearly did that. 995,000. And might I add, the previous week, the women stole the show during their time. Bigger numbers than ever. Among Britt Baker, legit Layla Hirsch, love her by the way, and freaking Thunder Rosa. Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa, they topped 1 million views with their clash, while Britt and Layla's match did 960,000. So there you go. AEW finally doing some of the women's division. But let's go ahead and briefly talk about AEW because, again, good Lord. It was 50-50 when it came to action in the ring, promos, and storytelling galore. We have this idea where Shaq and Cody, they might come one-on-one with each other in the ring, and apparently Shaq was the biggest draw of the night because with Shaquille O'Neal, what'd you expect? And literally, Brandy felt disrespected after Shaq talked about, you should look at Jade Cargill. She can give you some tips. And threw water in Shaq's face. That was harsh. Ouch. Sting basically told us he has signed a multi-year contract full-time with All Elite Wrestling. He's here in the jungle. He sees a lot of the animals haven't changed, and he particularly points to one animal up in the bleachers, one Darby Allin coveting that TNT title, and then basically says he has his own agenda, and he's told Cody, see you around, kid. It was like the first time I can recall Cody getting booed by an AEW crowd, despite just being, fans, because of course this was like pre-recorded. What else happened here? Kenny Omega, he showed up 80s style in a helicopter, something out of Vice City it felt like, with the 80s look and 4 sweepers. They continued to basically recap what they said on Impact. It was basically the same promo. Kind of annoyed me, but again, we got the goodbye and good night, and we'll see what happens next as we saw a final resolution. Now, as far as action-wise goes, I thought the match with TH2 and Young Bucks was a really good opener to set the pace of the night. The Young Bucks won, but it looks like the Acclaim are now trying to take on the Bucks, and that has devolved into a feud with SCU. Abaddon still terrifies me. Tessa Price tried, but got squashed by a reverse gory bomb within 5 minutes. As Abaddon was continuing the assault, Sheeta came out, whacked her with a candlestick, and Abaddon Undertaker rise and freaked out Sheeta as she took herself and Tessa out of the ring, so I think she just angered her. This feud is far from over. We also got Team Taz gloating about themselves, and Darby Allin has challenged Brian Cage to defend his TNT title against The Machine. One-on-one, see if you can beat me, fair and square. Inner Circle is going to stay together, but Sammy teases the idea he might go babyface because he says if one more thing goes off between him and MJF, he will leave the Inner Circle himself, and Jericho and him had a long stare down regarding that. And then MJF and Orange Cassidy, they faced each other for that $50,000 ring, and it turned into a lumberjack match at one point as everybody came out there. And then Miro, I don't know what the hell he was wearing, but looked the strongest he ever did in AEW, destroying security, throwing somebody off the stage, wiping out Orange Cassidy, allowing MJF to retain the ring. And Dustin gets teased to join the Dark Order based on a character he had at WCW called Seven. So, by the way, Dustin burned to Britt Baker and her husband about, did your husband win Match of the Year that year? No, me and Cody did. So I appreciate those action figures. So I suggest you think before you speak, Doctor. And then he wanted to hear Reba talk, but of course, Reba wasn't going to say anything. But he said, come on, say something. You're my favorite one out of this duo. Say something, Reba. I freaking love Dustin, man. Don't you mess with Dustin Rhodes. That's all I got to say about that.
Don't mess with Dustin Rhodes.
Yeah, enough said. Don't you mess with Dustin Rhodes. There's a lot to think about, though, going into this week. We got a 14-man tag team match. SCU takes on the Acclaim. Shaq and Cody might confront each other. We also learned, and apparently this pissed off WWE, we learned about AEW's final scheduling as they have a Holiday Bash special and 2 weeks called New Year's Smash, where one week you have Jericho, I think this on commentary, but the other week you have Snoop Dogg on broadcast. So there's a lot of things to think about in AEW.
That pissed WWE off?
Oh, yes, because WWE didn't know about it.
Did I not say that this might happen?
Yes, you did.
Okay.
Good call, PD. Good.
I do want to bring something up.
Go for
it. In regards not to the Snoop Dogg thing, but to the holiday special.
Go for it.
So, and this is as a courtesy to any viewers that might be listening. So, do you guys remember Takeover 30? How there was an episode of Dynamite that aired that day?
Yes.
By chance?
Yes.
Okay. So, the reason I bring that up is for anybody that might possibly not be able to watch the episode live. might possibly have to, rely on a DVR that day, because sometimes I have to as well. So immediately before this episode of Dynamite, much like that day, there will be an NBA basketball game on.
That's right.
Milwaukee Bucks will be taking on I don't remember the other team. I can't remember. The Boston Celtics. So the reason I bring this up.
Did you do that on purpose?
Yes, I did.
I can't remember the other team.
Gee, I wonder why, but continue.
I'm not much of a basketball guy, to be honest with you.
Me neither.
To be honest, the reason I bring this up is because live TV can be a royal pain in the ass. And we found that out at this last episode of Dynamite. Now, if by chance this game goes over, if it goes into overtime, it will cause this episode of Dynamite to go into overtime. And if you by chance are watching it late, if you have it recorded, be sure to make the necessary adjustments on scheduling and things like that, to have it go over and things like that. That way you do not miss anything.
Well,
I saw a lot of people, express disappointment and everything on social media and all that stuff. I just want everybody to be prepared.
Well, I feel like after last time they should be. But go ahead, Pete.
Yes. I just want everyone to be ready for anything.
I was extremely annoyed for the wait, but come 12:30 a.m., it was the first time I could ever remember watching wrestling during that time, and I loved it. And that 1 hour simple edition that you're referring to, it drew them over 500,000 views. I only expected 300,000. That just goes to show how much AEW Diamond has really reinvigorated the wrestling industry. Oh, by the way, one more thing. Lance Archer destroyed everybody. Pentagon has apparently been written off due to injury as the Death Triangle faces off at Eddie Kingston's family, but I'm happy that Butcher, Blade, and the Bunny, yay, Allie, they won their match, and I look forward to where this feud continues. And to go with your point, though, the whole Snoop Dogg thing, I think more so it's just to promote that show starting in January that Cody and Snoop Dogg were judges for, the Go Big Show.
Oh, Lord.
So, I mean...
Oh, Lord. You gotta call the people.
I hope I hear that on commentary. Please put Snoop Dogg on commentary. Him and Marvin during that boxing fight. My God. I want to see Morrow and Snoop Dogg on commentary during an AEW show. There, I said it.
I was literally just getting ready to bring that up. Like, that would be the greatest thing ever.
Yes. And by the way, no John Moxley, no recap, no idea where he is, no idea what he's doing. Is he written off? Is he preparing for a United States Championship match in New Japan? Will he come back and confront the cleaner eventually? Only time will tell. But another loaded Dynamite. I think, personally, they put too much into this show, but apparently the quantity also affected the quality. It paid off. They nearly got 1 million views. But, and the thing, this was after an episode of Dynamite you thought that was pay-per-view worthy with the world title match and with Sting's arrival. I did not think that they would succeed what they started with Winter Is Coming. But again, I think Shaq also extremely helped with that. Now, what do you do with this week coming up to keep up with that? Only time will tell.
Right. I think but I think also at this point, I think the viewership speaks for itself this week. WWE and NXT got creamed, legit.
Ouch. I don't believe there's a war. Let me stress that. I literally tweet now every day. Listen to me. Okay, let me talk to you. I don't tweet every day or everything that I watch because sometimes I feel social media I feel like social media makes people forget that, hey, do you realize you're a wrestling fan? Do you just sit down, turn off the damn phone, and enjoy wrestling? The only tweet I'm doing mostly from now on is just enjoy wrestling. If I feel like someone's worth tweeting, I'll tweet about it then. As far as this war thing, it's BS, okay? It's only a war if you really dive into that and believe in that bullshit. There, I said it. It's a dirt sheet thing, and maybe, obviously, it might just be a business choice by the dirt sheets themselves to continue their publicity, okay? And if that's all it is, fine. But for those that think this is a war, it's not. Just enjoy wrestling. I still enjoy freaking NXT, and I thought the Karrion Cross was cool, just done too soon. I think AEW is on the rise, finally doing more with the women's division, where now we got like 3 different grudges and a title feud going, and suspended disbelief where we think Anna Jay and Ty are going, but still, they're not perfect. Nothing in wrestling is perfect, but can you just sit back and fucking enjoy wrestling? God.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Really quickly, Petey, but to kind of make a
counterpoint. Are you trying to counterpoint me?
My counterpoint to that is if there's no war going on, then how come we? If there was, okay, I agree that there's not a war going on between the companies. They're not, as much as
it's business.
WWE,
it's business at the end of the day.
and it's pro wrestling, and we should just sit down and love it. I agree with that point. Now, WWE themselves is counter programming to AEW. I mean, why do you think there was Retribution formed? Because of the Dark Order on AEW Dynamite.
Yeah, okay, let me go back to what Jeff Meacham says. Who in that group is more over since they came in? Nobody. Who in the Dark Order is more over since they started being a part of it? I can name you at least 3 people. John Silver's one of them. Jack, baby, let's go! That was for you, John Silver and Jack. Also, Anna Jay, within 1 year of her career as a professional wrestler, had become a homegrown AEW female stable, and honestly probably the most over person in the Dark Order next to John Silver. And then you have Brody Lee, who redefined himself and his character, finally past the Vince McMahon persona, that he just enjoys being suits and has really given us a new dynamic to what he offers, not only in the ring, but from a personality standpoint.
Yeah.
Now, Pete,
exactly.
You're a W guy, so I want you to give me your best summary. Who in Retribution is thriving?
If I had to give a 1,000% honest answer, the only one that would really come to mind is Mustafa Ali.
And he's the leader.
But by this much. I mean, he wasn't leading his own faction a while ago, but at the same time, he's leading a faction that,
Look,
is a little bit dead in the water.
There's one thing of getting TV time. There's another thing of actually having quality purpose in your TV time where you actually connect with the fans, you draw numbers, you make sales. At the end of the day, that's all the business in wrestling wants. Dark Order does that whether you like it or not.
Right. Exactly.
Now, anyway, you were trying to say something. I think Pete was trying to say something too, and then we went off on a tangent.
My only real thing is, at the end of the day, just don't try to tell people what they are and aren't allowed to enjoy when it comes to pro wrestling or anything else.
That's
what this really comes down to.
But at the end of the day, we watch what we watch, we like what we like, we react how we react, but we react in a civil manner. We don't bully the person, and we damn sure don't put down the business. There are aspects we love, there's aspects we don't. It's a fact of life.
I'm about to say something, and it might not be very popular.
Go for it.
We're referred to in this day and age as the IWC. What does that C typically stand for? What's it supposed to stand for?
Consumer?
IWC.
That's that
I have
JD.
never heard that abbreviation before.
That's the New York guy. That's JDNY from New York.
Internet wrestling community. Now, when I hear folks say things, when I hear and read the things that a lot of folks say when this war and things is going on, and maybe this is my small town mentality coming in, but those aren't the things that I would imagine someone in a community saying. That to me sounds a little more like a cult. To me, a community would be a little bit more respectful of somebody's opinion.
Well, Twitter is part that. Twitter is part that. That's the part I deal with. Okay, I deal with a respectable aspect of the community that just enjoys and talks wrestling. We don't belittle or tirade aspects we hate. Do we discuss and hope that it gets better? Yes. But do we actually put down the talent? No. Because at the end of the day, it's booking. But I digress. Now, anyway, like I said, bottom line on this tangent of conversation, ladies and gentlemen, new and old, just find something, enjoy wrestling, and more so enjoy life. Don't live in your damn phone.
Don't watch the news, because that will make you hate life faster than.
Okay, you can tell the world not to watch the news. That ain't gonna happen. All right.
Guys, I sell phones for a living, and I'm telling you right now, don't try to live in your phone.
Yeah, I know.
The more you know.
You need it. You need to get off. Now, let's move back to WWE for a moment with Friday Night SmackDown, which, in my opinion, I think WWE is having it's having a battle for which show's better, because Roman Reigns on SmackDown is the hottest thing going on Friday nights.
He's the hottest thing in WWE. Let's be honest.
Hotter than NXT.
Well, to be honest, Vince is always going to claim anything outside NXT as hotter, but the Roman Reigns character, the storyline, he's the biggest draw in the company right now, bar none.
Paul Heyman, every time he gets on Talking Smack, he makes everybody look good. Everybody, not just Roman Reigns. That man, he gets anybody hyped up.
Well, that's
Two
because
great
Paul
things
Heyman's
that
trying
came
to
out
put
of-
over the future.
Two great things that came out of the return of Talking Smack. One is obviously Paul Heyman, but also them deciding to have it air in the mornings. That low key was honestly a really good decision for them because I think that was them, having it air after 205 Live, and then waiting an entire hour. I think that was one of the things that led to it getting canceled.
And 205 Live still isn't even an hour. It's like 30 minutes. So
I don't think people wanted to wait that whole span of time for Talking Smack to come on. No disrespect to 205 Live, but it's like it's kind of lost its luster.
it lost its luster a long time ago after
It did.
they took up their champions. Just saying.
That's why it's on NXT now.
Well, also they have to drive that roster because most of their roster got moved to the main roster, and some of them are thriving, some of them are struggling, unfortunately.
All right.
Anyway,
So when it comes
SmackDown,
to-
talk to us.
SmackDown. All right, I'm trying to remember how it started. So, give me a minute.
You don't have to be chronological. We're just talking about moments. It's not like we do a play-by-play.
Well, for one thing I know for a fact happened was the Riot Squad got a big victory over Billy Kay and Natalya.
Okay, hold on, time out. I gotta stop right here. Why the hell did they split the only legitimate female tag team in WWE for years, since before those damn titles were invented, just to put them in impromptu mixed tag teams and have them always losing? They already have potential with themselves as a tag team, and you said you were going to get paid a bid singles push. What the hell are you doing with her? Is she challenging for the Raw Women's Championship? No. Is she actually doing something popular with Lacey Evans? No. What is Billie Kay doing? Trying to find her spot on SmackDown that you still haven't give her, and now you put her on a losing side with Natalya. The only good that can come out of that is that you're with the women's locker room leader, the freaking best of them for generations. But it depends if you actually do something with Natalya and Billie. So actually prove me something and tell me, was the Iconics a smart move to split, and are they actually both doing something?
No, it was not. They should have kept them together always.
Let me try and
They kept
Let me try and be
together
positive.
for years.
I'm being
You're trying to be
realistic
positive
here. What's the point of splitting a tag team if you're just going to
There is
recreate
none.
two impromptu tag teams and do nothing with them?
there is none, but one of my favorite teams, the Riot Squad, got a victory, and I'm happy about it.
Breathe.
I'm fine.
Breathe.
And no disrespect to the Riot Squad. No disrespect to the Riot Squad. But they had their ups and downs. They broke up and they reunited. And it's only 2/3 of them now because, again, Sarah Logan is retired.
And a mama.
Congratulations to her, by the way.
Mama.
Did she have the kid?
Not yet.
She's still preggo.
Okay.
Oh!
Oh, that's
Speaking
right.
of babies. Speaking of babies.
We didn't even say that, did we? Whoops.
Seth and
We did not.
Becky.
They had their
Baby
child, a little
Baby
girl named
Rue.
Ro. Congratulations
Rue.
to Seth and Becky. What a lovely name.
Ro Rollins.
Well, I don't think it's Rollins. They're using his last,
No,
his real name. Remember, they're using the real last name. So,
To us, it's Ro Rollins.
but congratulations to Becky and Seth. I wish nothing but the best for their child's journey. And who knows whether they become a wrestler or something else. Only time will tell. Now you have to wonder.
Oh yeah.
You have to wonder how
Oh,
long
yeah.
Becky and Seth will be out.
The
But
night
anyway.
started off with the contract signing between Sasha Banks and Carmella. The trash talk a little bit, and it ended up leading to the match happening in the main event.
What?
So, yeah, but let me talk about the rest of the show, and then we'll lead to how the match ended.
Okay.
So, first off, let me talk about this because I have to talk about this. The Street Profits have finally been migrated full-time to Blue Solo Cups, motherfuckers!
So they finally add logic to the brand. Good grief! I'm happy to hear that. That actually makes me happy. Okay, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that.
So,
Logic.
there was a singles match between Montez Ford and Dolph Ziggler.
Oh.
It appears that they're building towards that for the tag titles at TLC.
Don't surprise me.
I don't know. It was, I believe, due to this. No, before I leave to how the match ended. So they got tossed out of the ring, and then all of a sudden, mid-match, in the ring, it rained Blue Solo Cups again for the second time. For the
What?
sake of mind games.
What?
Yes.
During the match?
Yes.
Okay, wait. Would that be considered a foreign object, and wouldn't the match just be thrown out?
I don't think it made contact with anybody in the match.
Yeah, it was just them in the ring. I don't know why they
But
decided
okay,
to do that.
so here's the weird part. This is the part that didn't make sense to me.
Okay, because it's
Now,
already not making sense to me.
It came back from commercial break, and I timed this and it came back. They were, in working holds for about a minute and 15, and then they went to commercial again. I don't know if Dolph Ziggler got hurt. I don't know if Montez Ford got hurt, but that weird coming back and then immediately going back to break thing just threw me off. I haven't heard anything about either guy being injured, but I was just like, that is a weird. It's like when you watch a football game and they're like, and you see an abrupt
Timeouts.
switch to commercial break like that, you know something's up.
I
Like
mean,
when
they
Joe
go
Burrow
to
went
commercial
down,
every time out, though, to be fair. So, I mean,
not necessarily, but like if something like out of the blue, like an injury happens, they
okay.
absolutely go to commercial. Like
That's
I remember when
fair.
Joe Burrow went down, they immediately went to commercial break without even saying anything. I was like, ah, shit. But
Okay.
yeah,
Cuffs
Bobby
during a
Roode
match.
Bobby Roode distracted the referee. Dolph Ziggler super kicked Montez Ford, got another and got the win. That's another victory for Roode and Ziggler over the Street Profits, building a lot of momentum.
On the subject of building momentum, if I may interject briefly, we had a segment Friday night that got my attention immediately. Backstage between Bayley and Bianca Belair.
Yes.
And Bianca Belair said something that had
she
me
busted out the
laughing,
receipts.
laughing, in tears. That whole segment right there. Prior to that, she says to Bayley, quote, "You're not that cute. Your hair's uneven. You look dusty."
Damn! Burn! Okay.
I was so weak. She's like,
Wow.
Yeah. Look, listen, you got my name in your mouth. You're not even that cute. Your hair is uneven. You look dusty. And I'm like, that is the most hilarious thing. Like that, I was not expecting that. It says she busts out the receipts and like all these like things that she's accomplished over Bayley and how Bayley's failed.
Okay. I like how this feud's going. I like how this
Now,
feud's going.
And they aren't even like nice polished receipts. They like look like they were crumpled up in the pocket.
Right,
Oh, like she
exactly.
stored them from memory.
They've been in a safe for 10 years.
I hope that the result of this is Bianca winning over Bayley. I don't think if they do it right, Bayley would not be hurt by this. It's only going to elevate Bianca. And I think, honestly, knowing who Bayley is as a real person, I've talked my shit. I know, boys, but I'm talking about the real person behind the character now. Knowing her, I think she wants Bianca to succeed. She wants Bianca to get elevated to that championship level. We, all as fans, want Bianca to get elevated to that championship level again.
And that's why she hasn't gotten thrusted into it yet, because it's like it's got to be the right time.
Yeah, exactly.
Somebody-
Wise move.
Another person, when we think about fan theories, things that could happen later on down the line, somebody who could get in that last, the last two people remaining in the Royal Rumble match. Think about what she did last year or the year before, like ass whooping.
She's dominated the Rumble.
I think she set the record, at least for the women's match.
You are correct.
As far as I know. I think, and then Sasha was the one that said it the year before that.
Yep.
If I'm not mistaken.
You're right. Yeah,
Anywho,
but Bianca Belair closed the record. Anyway, back to what you're saying.
I think Bianca is, she's getting herself over and proving that, you don't need to hand her a script. Nobody handed her a script and said, say that. That's her. And I can tell. And she's getting herself over, and I love it. But Petey, sorry. That's all I wanted to say. You can continue.
That's an hell of an interjection,
No,
but he's got a point, so okay. Anyway, continue, Pete.
Definitely, man.
Yeah.
So, there was I'm trying to think here. There was a promo with Kevin Owens
Okay, here we go.
regarding, and he brought in a table, a ladder, and a couple chairs.
Oh my.
Essentially essentially talking about, how his family doesn't fight his battles for him and things of that nature. But he does have people that are going to help him. And then he just basically talks about the table, the ladders, the chairs, and, and then all of a sudden Jey Uso gets involved and starts hitting him with the chair. But then Kevin Owens gets a number on him and then puts Jey Uso through the table. All of a sudden, Kevin Owens is backstage looking for Roman Reigns. While he's interviewing with Caleb Braxton, has his back turned. Roman Reigns jumps him from behind, and all of a sudden turns to the camera and says, "Owens family, we have not been properly introduced. If you do not talk some sense into your dad, if you do not talk some sense into your husband, I will be the one to take the food off of your table." Something like that. I'm paraphrasing a little bit, and then he just kicks him repeatedly, and then he just looks at the camera and goes, "Have a good night."
Yeah, that's making it personal. I'm loving
Reigns
this.
is just being an absolute dick, and I love it.
Again, best heel going today in the business.
Okay, there's might be a few other things that I'm missing, but the only other thing that immediately comes to mind is the main event for the Women's Championship.
Oh, this I gotta hear.
Carmella and Sasha Banks.
This I gotta hear.
Well, here's the thing. I'll go ahead and cut to the end because I don't even think I'm allowed to say nice things about Carmella, so I'll just go ahead and cut to the end.
Okay.
I mean, all things considered, she handled herself pretty well against the boss. She looked like she's been, improving a lot in her time away from the ring. But it ended up ending in a DQ.
Oh God.
For the record, it was Sasha that got DQ'd, not Carmella.
What?
Yeah.
Why did Sasha get DQ'd?
I don't remember how it got what got involved, but it was something with the new person that was like roaming around with Carmella, and then it just ended up with Sasha throwing Carmella into the bottom turnbuckle and just kicking her repeatedly for the 5 count.
Okay, that does sound like fun to watch, but still, the champ losing her temper.
So there was like champagne and everything at ringside for when Carmella would allegedly win the title. Basically, they would get into a brawl. Carmella threw her into the announce table. Sasha was leaning against the announce table. Carmella took one of those champagne bottles and literally smashed it as hard as she possibly could into the back of Sasha Banks.
Ouch.
And then took one of the other ones and New Year's Eve style. So this isn't over.
Okay, so I have to ask, are they still having a title match at TLC?
I mean, you'd have to think so.
I would think at this point. Now, champagne? Valet? Carmella has a valet? What the hell's going on here?
I don't think they used the word valet. I can't remember the exact word they used, but...
Okay, I'm going to have to look at the SmackDown clips because I fell asleep Friday night after work.
You say Carmella, you're acting like Carmella's never had a side piece. I mean, there were the days where she had James Ellsworth.
Okay, well, I thought this different character meant...
This one has a chin.
Oh, that's good to know. I thought this new character meant she was untouchable in her own way. I didn't know she had
backup.
backup.
Talk shit about Carmella.
Look, people. Okay, let's be honest here. Okay, people are gonna talk crap about Carmella for a number of reasons. The most current reason is her connections. The previous reason is people will always have something against her regarding her run as champion and also Money in the Bank. Now, as far as this new character goes, it literally sounds like they're reinventing Vince's like cover girl model for the women's division. Now, I'm gonna have to look at clips, so I can't probably judge this.
So she's not allowed to be successful because she's pretty? Is that what you're telling me?
No, I'm not saying. I'm saying fans are gonna react to her probably like that. Okay, I don't know where this character is going. Okay, I have nothing against Carmella as far as what this character goes, because I can't judge the character yet because I haven't really watched. I've just seen these snippets and friggin' promos. Okay, I literally fell asleep 7:30 p.m. after work Friday night because I was tired of shit, and I haven't checked out any clips from SmackDown. I've been watching Impact and NJPW, so give me a break. Now I'm just trying to dissect
We are.
what you're
We
talking
have a
about
match.
here. It sounds like to me that they're trying to really push Carmella as a strong competitor to Sasha, but also in her head, because you're telling me the champ got disqualified, beating the crap out of her in the corner. So I'm actually kind of curious now with the champagne bottle apparently smashed over her, what sort of physical match is going to ensue at TLC. I imagine it's not going to be a standard championship match. What do you do?
Do a tables match. Do a tables.
I would say bar fight at this point. Bar fight.
That led to Sheamus dressing up like a newsie every day. So I don't know if that's such a good move.
Okay, I guess that's true.
Gentlemen,
I like his
I'll
hat.
take-
I like Sheamus's hat.
I'll take you back a few years. I do believe this was back when Carmella was the SmackDown Women's Champion, and she was having an in-ring segment with Charlotte. And I
I know
if
where
you
he's
can
going.
recall the segment that I'm referencing.
Yeah, I know where you're going.
It's not that they don't like. It's not that they don't like Carmella because she won Money in the Bank or the Women's Championship. The reason why is because she refers to herself as that four-letter D word that the women no longer want to refer themselves as, because it's separating them from the men.
Different era. I know exactly what you're talking about. It looks like she literally owns that too. Now, whether or not that is empowering across today's industry, or is it holding back maybe something, that's up to personal interpretation. But I definitely need to go check out the highlights of SmackDown, because it sounds like, again, the best thing was Roman. Go figure. But this dynamic with Sasha and Carmella now taking a different twist kind of intrigues me. It also seems like right now that SmackDown is the bigger focused show versus Raw. Unless you count Orton and The Fiend at this point. Because, again, like you said earlier,
It has been
Pete.
for a while.
Yeah, like you said earlier, Pete, it's like a battle of the networks trying to outdo each other. Like, which of the two shows is better at this point? It sounds like SmackDown is becoming the A show, personally, to me.
One's on NBC and one's on Fox. It seems like you're going to have that going for a while.
Well, NBC and Fox are never going to work together because let's be honest, they're politically different. That's just saying something. I want to just have an honorable mention though about a women's wrestling match that I do recommend watching. Probably my favorite wrestling match this year for the women. Thunder Rosa, Priscilla Kelly, Tuesday night NWA Shockwave for the NWA Women's World Championship. That was an incredibly aggressive, emotional, brutal affair. Priscilla Kelly came this close. Definitely recommend a watch for anybody that enjoys women's pro wrestling. That's all I got to say about that.
All right. That's all I got on SmackDown. I do have something else I wanted to mention.
Go for it.
And this actually came from one of your guys at No DQ.
All right.
Aaron Rift, his name.
The boss man. Yep. Hi, Aaron.
So he mentioned some stuff regarding JR's harsh comments on overuse of certain finishers.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm only going to talk about, what JR had to say as far as Brandon Cutler's response on the matter. I'll go ahead and leave that alone. But it's a JR vented on his podcast about wrestlers doing the, quote, same fucking spot and how finishers need to be protected. It was mainly the one he was specifically referring to, I believe, was the Canadian Destroyer. Although there's so many other finishers we probably could talk about now in this day and age that have probably gotten this treatment. I will say this. I don't think he's wrong. I will say this. When I grew up in TNA, when I grew up watching TNA...
You grew up in TNA?
When I grew up
Continue.
watching TNA, I almost did it again. I remember watching a guy named Petey Williams, ironically.
Yes.
And he was the guy that did the Canadian Destroyer. Nobody ever kicked out of that.
That's right.
And quite frankly, if we ever have an opportunity to get a guest on here, my first, that would be the guy I would want on there because I would want to ask him about this particular subject and, how he would feel about it. So, Petey Williams, if by chance you're listening, the offer's out there.
That's getting clipped.
We're
We're clipping that, and we're gonna
From Pete-
around.
From Petey to Petey.
I like that
Exactly.
7. I would just say 7 minutes with a wrestler. That's the point. It's a simple 7.
So
Talk about anything.
I'm curious to get your takes about this because it's not the only finisher that gets that kind of treatment. It's you wonder if it's even fun to do super kicks anymore. You wonder if it's fun to do Canadian Destroyers anymore. There's a lot of finishers you could say that about.
So
I
basically
mean-
what we're talking about is we've definitely brought this up before, where it's overused
Overused
finishers
finishers that do not count for the end of a match but a spot.
Our finisher's not protected enough is the question I'm
Oh,
asking.
Yeah, I mean
100%.
that goes for almost every move you think about. I think about what is the most unique finishers that actually get the job done. I mean, the super kick, the only one that ever really got the job done was Shawn Michaels. Yet you see almost everybody else doing it. Dolph Ziggler, Kevin Owens, Carmella. You think about a DDT. Everybody does that, but the originator of the DDT, Dennis Nick Roberts, he won with that. But anybody else that does a DDT is just to spike a person. I mean, the list goes on and on. I mean, the last one to try and make a DDT be a finisher, in my opinion, was Bobby Roode, that glorious DDT that won him the freaking NXT Championship.
Harley
And we gotta
Race-
call
Harley
a spade here. No promotion is safe from this argument.
No, that's why I'm throwing out names across the industry.
Gentlemen.
AEW is a heavy what's the word I'm looking for? Offender of this when it comes to the move you just mentioned, Destroyer. Not just Canadian, but everybody does Destroyer. Yoshi Tonic, Cold Red, doesn't matter what you call it. It always seems like it's a spot. It's not a finish. Especially the Young Bucks matches.
Right. Noah G, I'm so sorry.
Harley Race used to win his matches by a stand-alone suplex. Not
Yep.
not a twist and a move suplex, not holding the guy up there for 20 seconds and then dropping him. Just to lift him into the air, dropping him on his back, suplex.
And Penelope Ford wins with a fisherman suplex with a bridge, but that's about the closest thing to it.
Every single performer doing these in the ring, off the top rope, in the outside of the ring. It's been going on for a long time because wrestling has always evolved.
Right.
Now we're in this era in WWE and actually, all pro wrestling in general, this high performance, how many, I think now it's not so much about when you come up with a finisher. I mean, I'm pretty sure they're not, as long as I'm not seeing everyone doing a Brock Lesnar F5 as a mid-match move, like that move is, in my opinion, is still protected. The Tombstone Pile Driver by Undertaker.
Rosemary is the only other person that can come to mind that does it on the F5.
The Pedigree by Triple H. I mean, and Seth Rollins. Both, it's a protected finisher. I think they can do pro wrestling in general, regardless of the company, can do a lot better at protecting finishing moves. I think now the thing that I get the most annoyed with is the amount of pinfalls that you're going for in a match, because you honestly think that you can hit somebody with a punch and then go for a pin? No, you're supposed to finish them off first before you go for a pinfall. Actually try and get up and tell a story and showboat. Yeah, I know there's no fans there, but you drop somebody on their back, be a heel if you're a heel, and try and get the people there to boo you. Don't just immediately go for a pin. You know what I'm saying? I think that can play a part in building an audience up to see a finishing maneuver. Because if you're going to go for a pinfall every 5 seconds, you think you've done enough to beat your opponent when you haven't.
Out of curiosity, Noah G, these cowardly heels that we've had this conversation in the past. Do you think that they would do a better job at winning you over if they didn't go for the pinfall as much?
Yeah.
And I say that with genuine curiosity.
Yeah, honestly, I would, because if they weren't going for the pinfall every 5 seconds, they'd be, taking advantage of the camera that's circling them.
Gotta get that hard cam shot. Gotta get that hard cam shot. This is TV.
And two, the in-person fans that are in there. I mean, if Triple H was feeding the NXT talent that's watching the matches each Wednesday night and telling them to heckle the heels and cheer for the good guys, and you're telling your talent to react to that, personally, I think the heels would be performing better, and so would the baby faces, because you're selling in the ring when the heel is basically grabbing your face and trying to rip your nose up to your forehead and your jaw and your lip down to your chin, when he's doing a crossface like that, so I don't know, to me it's I see way too many pinfalls or covers.
It depends on the story and the match, because this is the NJPW type standards, but it has to be done properly, okay? Because, again, Kenny Omega and freaking Kazuchika Okada broke the Richter scale for professional wrestling, and there's people that still hold them to that to this day in a negative way too, because of the amount of kickouts. So it depends really on the story of the match and the way the spots are played out. But as far as a finisher being overused or being used at the wrong time and losing its value, there's definitely heavy evidence of that across the entire industry for the most basic of moves.
Yeah,
Right.
time, culture, like there's a lot of factors.
Exactly.
Yeah, as far as I know, one of those moves you mentioned, I'm fairly certain outside of Brock Lesnar, the F5, the only other person I can think of that's ever used it is Rosemary.
Wardlow uses it, calls it an F10, I
In
think.
F10, yeah.
Yeah, and I think
Rosemary used it for a while. I believe she called it the Red Wedding.
you are correct.
Getting that right?
You are correct, sir.
Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Dun
reference,
dun
that's
dun dun
great.
dun 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 dun. Yeah, I know.
That's a good. Well, that's like the most horrific event to occur in the Game of Thrones universe. So I mean, everyone knows everyone when you say the Red Wedding, you know that's something you don't Pete. No, I think Noah's obviously knows what I'm talking about, but you guys, anybody who's seen Game of Thrones,
I've seen a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen enough to be aware.
Like even with this era of complacency with protected finishers are still very protected.
Oh yeah.
oh, by Kenny Omega, one with
Yes.
the game.
Yeah, Kenny Omega. What just happened?
I only say that because Noah just gave a look of confusion. Like, wait.
Well, also there might have been blood. My life. That's bad.
What?
I just temporarily lost internet connection.
Well,
Did that other shit at least say?
we are offline.
That long-term stream did say, but immediately when I lost internet, it cut off.
And-
Curse you,
What was it?
Buckeye Cable Broadband System! I digress. All right, well that's probably a good way to wrap it up.
I was
Go ahead,
enjoying
Pete.
that. I was enjoying that conversation we were just having. That was a good, nice debate that we were just having.
Yeah.
Well, again, Plan B.
protected
You
finisher.
record the Zoom meeting. I hope Noah actually hit the record button like
Nope.
we.
I did not.
All right. Well, okay. Rule number one. Okay, here's what we need to do. We need to get together and figure out a ground plan for this next time because I'm not sure how much of that conversation was lost, but we'll have to see what happens on in the end.
Well, let's
Again,
take a-
we're
let's
still
take a look.
we're in the genesis of podcasts, folks. That's so level with us. But bottom line is this: to close that conversation, finishers are not protected, but they still hold value even in moments of matches, and that should be enough for us as fans. As far as, long-term analysts, you might want more of the old school days. They aren't returning.
Right, they're not. Nope. And as much as people don't, also in regards to storytelling, because of the advent of social media and all that stuff, kayfabe, as the old timers know it, is dead. So we might not be seeing the resurrection of that anytime soon. But AEW, out of all professional wrestling companies, is, in my opinion, doing it best to pay homage to what once was, in my opinion.
And that's that. Until next time. Unless anyone else say anything else.
I don't see. We pretty much, that's pretty much the week in review. We have much to look forward to, gentlemen. As far as I know, next Sunday we have TLC. The weeks following that, we'll have the next NXT pay-per-view, and then eventually the Royal Rumble, and then by March, April of 2021, we'll have Mania. Whether or not that will have live fans is to be determined.
Exactly.
What we'll see AEW do while this is all going on WWE.
So we're still live on YouTube.
Yeah.
Well,
we're
there's
still live
that.
on YouTube.
But again, we'll see how this all plays out. But I honestly got there's a spammer from Pride Russia because I did get hacked earlier, but we'll ignore that. But I honestly don't got anything else to say, so I think that's a good wrap up. So guys, it's the go home week to WTLC. So I guess next time we'll try and do, and hopefully someone's in there holds up, a live react to WTLC and maybe a post show following that. But I think with that being said, there's a lot to look forward to and for all of us to do. So I think, Noah, it's about time you bid the fine people who ever watch this now or on demand and do.
ladies and gentlemen, to all of you who have watched this, I can't do a better salute than Kenny Omega does, because seeing that return is just a thing of beauty. But
And non-copyright.
we do have an outro here at the Sauce. For all of you who have tuned in, we thank you very much for watching. Before I say anything, though, I will want to ask all of you to request. I personally am a spiritual person, but if you're not, we respect you still 100%. But keep your thoughts positive. We ask that you lift your thoughts. If you are of spiritual person, lift your prayers up as well for our fellow Sauce brethren, Jack, that he come back to us as soon as possible, that he recover. Homeboy was recently in a car accident.
Yeah.
He
Jeez.
up soon.
He's a big part of the show, man.
Big part of the show, and we love him to death. And we love
All right, brother. Take care. Stay strong like John Silver.
Exactly. Hey, like John Silver, all jacked. And by the way, Noah, that part of you imitating John Silver is going to get clipped, by the way.
Oh, well, damn it.
But, boys, if you got a glass, lift it up. At the Sauce, we have a outro saying, and that saying is, if pro wrestling were the barbecue, you can count on us to bring the sauce. Night, everyone. Enjoy your evening. We'll see you next time.
See you for TLC. By the way, this is not water, but it's also not alcohol. Join the Dark Order.
Attaboy.
Good night.
Night-night.